Mr. Harabedian.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Osorio. Mr. Chan.
Here.
Thank you. Dr. Chen. Dr. Chen, could you please unmute and let us know that you're here?
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kim. Mr. Lee.
Here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Dr. Mateki.
Yes, present.
That's great. So, Mr. Harabedian, I show 5 members present, 2 absent. We have a quorum.
Great. Thank you so much. Hopefully the other 2 will be joining shortly. And with that, we'll move on to item number 2, which is the President's welcome, and would just like to welcome everyone, the board members, staff, and public to today's meeting. It is August 26th. It's 9:47 a.m. according to my clock. And I just wanted to welcome everyone, say thank you to our past president, Amy Mateki, Dr. Mateki, for all her work in bringing us to this point. Vice President Kitman Chan, for all your work as well. Thank you very much for your leadership. It's really an honor for me to take over as president, and I know for Ruben Osorio to take over as vice president. And if he were here, which he'll be here shortly, I think he would say the same thing. I look forward to a productive year, getting through sunset and continuing the great momentum that we have on the board, getting important work done for the public and for the acupuncture community. And with that, I don't think we need to open up President's remarks for public comment. So at this point, why don't we move on to item number 3, which is review and possible approval of the June meeting minutes. And has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? I have. Are there any questions about the minutes from any of the board members or any comments from staff?
This is Amy
Morning, board
Mateki.
members. I'm sorry, I'm late. This is Francisco Kim.
Hi, Francisco. Let it be noted that Francisco has joined us here for item 3. Thank you for joining.
This is a member Amy Mateki. I did a review, Mr. President, and I moved to approval for the board meeting June 24th to 25th, 2021.
Great. We have a motion. I will open this up for public comment after we have a second. And Dr. Mateki has moved both days' meetings minutes. Do I have a second?
Yeah, this is Kitman Chan. I make a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chan. So we have a motion and a second. Let me open this up for any additional comment from board members before I go to the public. And hearing no comments from the board members, let's go to public comment.
This is the board moderator. We've opened the Q&A feature. If anyone wants to make a public comment, you would type the word comment into the text box and send. I see no request for comment. Shall I close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Brigman, would you like to conduct the roll call, please?
Certainly. As I call your name, please let us know if you're going to vote in favor.
This is Fred Chan, DCA Legal. I must have missed it. Who brought the motion and who seconded it?
Dr.
By
McKechnie
my
was the
count,
motion and Chan was the second.
yes.
Okay, understood.
So as I call your name, please let us know if you're going to be voting aye, no, or abstain on approving the minutes for the June 24th, 25th, 2021 board meeting. Mr. Harabedian,
I vote in favor.
Mr. Osorio is still absent. Mr. Chen,
Aye.
thank you. Dr. Chen,
Aye.
Mr. Kim,
Aye.
thank you. Mr. Lee,
Here. Yes.
and Dr. Mateki,
Yes, in favor.
thank you. So I show 6 votes in favor, none opposed, and the motion to approve the minutes passes.
Mr. President, this is Fred Chen, UDC Legal. We do need to go back to item, let's see, item number 2 and open it up for public comments.
Okay. Do you usually, is it a standard operating procedure for whatever open meeting law that for a president's remarks, you have a public comment for that?
Yes, because every item that's on the agenda, the public would have a right to comment on it.
So do we need to open it then for item number 1, the call to order for public comment?
Yeah, I would just suggest maybe just for the record, go back to item number 2 and then open up for public comments. And the public would like to comment, regarding the remarks, that would be their opportunity to do so.
Okay, let's do that. We'll go back to item number 2. We will not open up item number 1 for public comment, but we will open item number 2 for public comment at this point.
I'm sorry, this is a member Amy Mateki.
Hi, Amy, go ahead.
Yeah, so legal, Mr. Chang Yu, I just, would like to know if this is something, it's a new for the board, because, being on the board for 4 years, I think there was, in the past, we did not have that with the president remarks, but I totally understand. I just want to know the procedures, is this is something's going to be new changed from DCA, or is
You
it
know
the
what?
board president, can decide on this?
This
Thank
this actually is requirement. So yeah, that is an existing requirement that any item on the agenda, I think with the exception maybe of like adjournment, and obviously the quorum, but anytime there's an item on the agenda that there's comments being given, the public would have the right to comment on those comments themselves.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mateki. Thank you, Fred. Let's open it up for public comment.
All right, thank you. This is the moderator. The Q&A feature for public comment has been opened. Members of the public can indicate they would like to make a comment on item 2, the president's remarks, or item 3, the approval of the minutes. And you can type the word comment in the Q&A box at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. And Board President, I see no requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. With that, we did have a vote on number 3, so we can move on now to the executive management report, item number 4. Mr. Badea.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. For the first item, the budget update, for condition, staff is currently working through fiscal year end for the 2021 numbers, and we had listed it here in case the year-end review would be completed at this time. It is not, but we will have this available for the next board meeting. For staffing updates, we were able to fill an enforcement analyst position. this last month, as well as a management services technician in the licensing unit, and we are grateful for the support there. For our facilities update, due to the change in property management, our move-in date has been slightly delayed, with the tentative date now at the end of November. And for the any questions so far from the board members on any of the first three items? Hearing none, I'd like to move to the business modernization update, and Mr. Hurt could provide us an update.
Are you with us?
Mr. Hurt, looks like you're muted. Well,
Sorry about that. I had to step away for 1 second, and I was requested to report. So could you clarify that for me, Ben?
Certainly, if you could please proceed with the business modernization update.
Perfect. Good. That's what I had. I just run out to print my little speech, and I got it. So anyway, the business modernization cohort 1 that includes the Board of Professional Engineers, Land Surveyors, and Geologists, the Bureau of Post-Private Secondary Education, the Bureau of Chiropractic Examiners, and the California Acupuncture has continued to work with our partners, the California Department of Technology, the Department of Consumer Affairs, Office of Information Services, and Lumen, which is our software development company. And this cohort has allowed all of the programs participating to leverage the scale of this project benefiting all of the programs. To date, the California Acupuncture has gone live and offering stakeholders online processes for the acupuncture and wall license applications and renewals, the California Acupuncture Licensing Examining application, and the initial licensure applications, and the ability to pay for all those services online with using a debit or credit card, as well as the processes still being available as paper applications. The project is now in its 4th product development stage with our partner, with all of our partners. CAB is now developing the continuing education provider applications, renewals, and the continuing education course application and approval processes. Additionally, CAB is working with our team to develop common business functions such as license verifications, name change, and address changes. All of these services we will be paid via credit card and also offer the ability to apply and submit and pay for these services both online or as paper applications. The development phase of the business modernization project was scheduled to complete October of this year, 2021. Although due to the need to complete the scope of this project, the end of the project has been extended to the end of the year to allow programs to complete and refine all the items in scope of project before that we move on to the maintenance and operation. And we've been informed by the Office of Information Services, this will have no impact on budgeting of the project. We'll stay within budget and allow us to refine a better product when we go live. And then just to kind of on a note, since we've launched online services starting in September 2020, the new Connect system has processed initial exam applications approved for CAB of 1,254. Also for renewal applications of August 2021 is 2,551. We've also completed and issued 1,255 wall licenses. And then also the total revenue that's been processed by the Connect system for CAB is $1,974,628. And so, yeah, we're in a place of the project where we really are wrapping things up and looking forward to being able to offer more functionality to all of our stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurt. Any questions for the board member from the board members on our business modernization status? Hearing none, Mr. President, I see that Legal Counsel Sledge has her hand up.
Uh, I'm sorry. I had my hand up when you had the question for Mr. Chan Yu, and I didn't know if my hand was up or down. I'm still learning this process, so I apologize. So I think he addressed the issue and the question from the member, so I apologize. And does it still show my hand up on the?
No, you're good.
Is it down or is it?
Now it's back up.
Now it's back up. Okay.
Now it's down. There we go.
Okay. All right. Now I'm figuring it out. Sorry about that. I apologize.
Not a problem. Mr. Hurt, if you could please present on the licensing report.
Okay, thank you, Ben. So to report on our licensing statistics for the fiscal year end, in summarizing Q4 of 2020, 2021, for active licenses, we had a number of 12,190 active licenses. Of those, 2,309 are inactive. In a separate category, delinquent licenses for the year totaled to be, or actually this is just for the fourth quarter, was 1,211. For the fourth quarter, initial licenses that were approved was 90. And for initial applications denied was, applications approved was 97 out of 90. So I guess we had some left over from a previous quarter. And then also there were 0 applications denied. And the reason that there's no applications denied, by the time the process is done, they've gone through all kinds of background checks and at that point. And so once it's submitted, it really is on the way to approval. So basically they're working through their deficiencies or they get approved. So. And then for continuing education, for the fourth quarter numbers, we received 5 new provider applications as opposed to 16 in the third quarter, 33 in the second quarter, and 17 in the first quarter. So a little bit drop on that. There were no applications denied in any of our quarters for provider applications. And it's basically a payment and a registration. And then Q4, we received 550 new applications for course approvals and was able to approve 540 of those approvals, and there was 2 denials. As of the Q4, our total of active continuing education providers is 498. Just to kind of contrast that, we've sort of been dropping actually since quarter 1. So we started at 590 in quarter 1 of providers active. Q2 was 542 active, Q3 was 523 active, and Q4 was 498 active. So, a little bit of a drop, not consequential. And we're not really seeing, a little bit of a drop in courses as well. So then moving on to our educational and training programs, applications for Board of Approval of Curriculum. In Q4, we only received 1 of those, and that application is in progress right now. And so that's where we stand with that. For the acupuncture tutorial training programs in Q4, we received 8 new applications. There were 7 program approvals for that program in quarter 4. Programs that were completed in quarter 4 were 6, and then terminated programs in quarter 4 were 0. And right now there's a total of 39 students participating in the tutorial training program. And then finally, we did release the 2021 Occupational Analysis. It's available. If you look in our What's New section, you can click on that and directly review that report. So that has been completed and done. And I just want to thank all of our licensees who participated in that study. The Office of Professional Exam Services was extremely pleased with our turnout. Yeah, so we really appreciate that work. And then just on a final note, we do have exam statistics that will be posted soon to our website. Because we are working with 2 systems, it took a little bit of extra time to come up with the statistics for the first of the year through the end of the fiscal year CALE statistics, but those will be coming out soon. So, and we'll post them to the website. We won't wait to present them at the next board meeting, although I will present them at the next board meeting. And that concludes the licensing report. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Hurt. And then just to add to that, the occupational analysis will be reviewed at the next board meeting. It wasn't ready in time for production of this meeting, but it will be provided to the board members for review. And perhaps OPES would walk us through it as well. Any questions from the board members on the licensing report?
I don't have questions. This is a member Amy Mateki. Thank you,
Dr.
Jay.
Mateki.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you. For our next item, the enforcement report for Q4 fiscal year 20 to 21. Let's turn to.
I do see, sorry for the interruption. I do
Please.
see a hand raised from Yangping.
Thank you. Dr. Chen?
Thank you. Sorry, I just want bring one point why the continuing education courses, the number decreasing. For what I know, a lot of because the pandemic, so a lot of provider they cannot provide the online class. So I think some of them, they just go to the bigger association, big group of education. I observed that probably one reason, the number decreased, but the licensees still get opportunity to get continuing education. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. No further questions or comments. Madam Borges, if you would please present the enforcement report.
Good morning. I did have issues with my mic earlier. I just want to confirm that I can be heard.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Good morning, board members, staff members, and members of the public. This is Cricket Borges. I'm the enforcement coordinator for the Acupuncture Board, and I am going to be presenting the enforcement update for Q4 of the 2021 quarter. This quarter is from April 1st through June 30th of 2021. Our first graph shows here that the number of complaints, convictions / arrests that were received is 31. I will just quickly go down through the major categories. Unprofessional conduct, we received 6. Unlicensed or unregistered practice, we received 4. Criminal charges / convictions, we received 7. Sexual misconduct, we received 3. Fraud cases, we received 2. Non-jurisdictional cases, we received 2. Incompetence or negligence or gross negligence, we received 6. Other category complaints, we received 1 for a grand total of 31. Any questions about this graph? I know this graph generally triggers some questions, so I want to give the board members a chance to ask those.
Any questions from the board members? I know Kipman usually has a few.
I see Dr. Chen.
Dr. Chen?
This is Francisco Kim.
Sorry, it's Yongping Chen. I tried to put the hand down. I was not suspect. I tried to put the hand down.
Great. Okay, no questions then, Dr. Chen. I think Francisco does. We'll work on getting your hand down, but I think Francisco had a question.
I can take it down.
Yeah, this is Francisco Kim. So these numbers compared to the last year's and the previous year, is it kind of a average, or is it kind of a low or high?
We will actually compare the average for the complaints further down in the report. If you wouldn't mind waiting a couple of minutes, we'll actually get there and I'll answer your question. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. If there's no other questions, we're going to move on to the next graph, which is investigations. You'll see here the initiated investigations uh, pretty much mirrors the cases that we received. There's 31 for the number of pending investigations, and this includes both formal investigations and investigations that are conducted by our staff in the office. We have 204 pending. Closed cases for investigations for this quarter, we actually closed 56. And again, this is for cases conducted by staff as well as our Division of Investigation. Is there any questions about this graph? Okay. Moving on to the next page. You'll see that these enforcement stats here show in the second column down the fiscal year for last year. The following columns after that show the different quarters for the 2021 fiscal year. And then after that, we'll see the year to date and then the average or percentage of the year change. So this is where those total complaints received, you'll see the difference. In the fiscal year 1920, we had 233 total complaints that were received. And for the 2021 year to date, total complaints received was 138. This is a 41% change, decrease, and I strongly believe that this was due to the COVID pandemic. People just were not out in the community getting acupuncture services provided, so cases or complaints were not necessarily generated. The second graph there, Pm2 the intake cycle, you'll see that our year-to-date average was 4.5. The year-to-date for the previous fiscal year was 4.3. It's just a 5% increase, but we are still within that 10-day target frame to get those cases open and assigned. The third little graph, PM3, is the investigation cycle time. For the fourth quarter, we have 56. Our average cycle time for the investigations is 433 days. You'll see that our processing time was up 77%. This is probably due to the fact that we had some staff shortage at one point within there. We were playing catch up. We have a little bit of a backlog, but you will see that our average or the all investigations closed, the number was similar. It did not actually change, even though they're a totally separate set of cases. We didn't have an average change for closed investigations. The percentage in the next graph shows the number of investigations, cases closed within their respective quarters. You'll see for quarter four, we had 16 cases that were closed within 90 days. This was a 5% decrease from the previous year. Cases, we had 3 in quarter four, but the grand total for the year, for the 91 to 180 days, it was a 9% decrease. The 181 days to 1 year, for the quarter four, we had 9 cases, which was a decrease in 1% from last year, or the previous year. 1 to 2 years, we had 15 cases that were closed. This was an increase of 6% from the 1920 fiscal year. 2 to 3 years, in quarter four, we had 10 cases, which was a 6% increase from the 1920 fiscal year. And then cases that took over 3 years to complete. In the fourth quarter, we had 3. The grand total for the overall change was a 4% increase, difference from the 1920 fiscal year. The next graph shows the average time frame for the total time to process citations that were closed within the respective quarter. For Q4, we had 5 citations that were issued. Took a grand total of 624 days to close those. You will see here that it is 171% increase from the 1920 fiscal year. And again, as we have advised in the past, that 1 or 2 cases that take a super long time to close will definitely skew that number. So there was probably 1 or 2 cases in there that took over 1,000 days to close, depending on the nature of the case to close, which is why that percentage is so high. On the next page, the PM4, the cycle time for discipline. This is the average number of days to close cases transmitted to the AG for formal disciplinary action, including formal discipline and closures without formal discipline, which, for example, are withdrawals and dismissals of accusations and cases. In Q4, we had 3 cases that were transmitted. You'll see the year to date for a grand total, we had 14. This was a 75% increase from the fiscal year 1920. So we sent more cases to the AG in the 2021 fiscal year. The average number of days to get those days over there was 851 days. You'll see that the year-to-date average was 1,039 days, which was 103% increase average from the 1920 fiscal year. Again, these cases in here may have been more egregious as far as the violations and took longer to investigate and get to the AG and to process, which is why these numbers may be so high. 1 or 2 of those higher numbers will skew that percentage. The next chart shows Q4, we had 5 AG cases initiated. We had 16 in the Q4 pending. We had 0 statement of issues filed. We had 0 accusations filed. We had 4 cases, total cases closed after they were transmitted to the AG. We had 0 cases, 0 licensees revoked. We had 1 voluntary surrender. We had 2 placed on probation. We had 0 license denials. We had 0 public reprimands, and we had 1 case closed without disciplinary action. And you can compare the year-to-date for the 2021 fiscal year to the 1920 fiscal year, and again, the average changes in that final column. The next graph shows the number of cases assigned for discipline that closed in the specified quarter. We had, you'll see there were 0 cases that were closed up through the 1-year mark. We did have 1 that was closed within 1 to 2 years. We had 1 closed within 2 to 3 years and 1 closed over that 3-year mark. And you'll see that that 1 was over that 1,093, which again above drove those cycle times, the percentage up. Other legal actions in the next graph. For this quarter, we had 1 PC-23 order and we had 0 interim suspension orders. This is something that's not generally common. We had a grand total of 2 for this year, which was 100% increase from last year, and 0 interim suspensions, which is the same as last year. And that concludes my report. Is there any questions?
Any questions from the board? If so, I know that there is a problem some folks are having with their hand raising. So I just saw Francisco put up his hand, but I think Dr. Matecki, you may have a question and you're not able to use your hand. So if anyone is not able to put up their hands, please just jump in. Francisco, I see your hand, so go ahead.
Thank you. So I know Ms. Borges been serving in different boards. So do you see this pretty much the same pattern as other boards enforcement activities, like per se, like from the citation and to the closing the case?
Truly depending on the size of the board, the volume will be similar. But as far as the percentages up and down, yes, it is similar to other boards because enforcement cases are very fluid and these stats are always changing. So you may have cases or stats that are going to stay the same no matter what size the board, as well as you're going to see cases in some of these areas, skyrocket versus decline. Enforcement stats are always very fluid. So yes, I would say that a lot of these statistics, the way we take them, they're going to be similar across all the different boards. Smaller boards may have similar statistics themselves as our board. I'm not sure. Is this answering your question? Is this what you're looking for?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, good.
Dr. Mateki, did you have a
Yes.
question?
Thank you, President Harvey. Thank you for understanding. So I have a question. So thank you, Burgess, for your presentation. I have a quick question about this fraud. There's a 2 fraud here you listed. And, my question here is just, if this is something is the public being informed, is because it's unlicensed practice acupuncture, or is a fraud because currently there's a lot of confused titles. So I'm just have a quick question because sometimes I keep get questions. Sometimes the patients will come in, ask, everybody call the doctors, but then there's so many type the doctors in the Chinese medicine world. Is like so I'm just try to see what is this fraud, if anything you can share with with us, or maybe sometimes you can't. Just I just kind of like for the public needed to know, and what's the best way to protect them and inform them. Thank you.
Okay, if we have cases that come in where the public is concerned that a person is advertising, let's say incorrectly, they're advertising that they're a doctor of acupuncture, or I guess let's just leave it at that, and they are not licensed, those fall under the unlicensed, unregistered category. The fraud cases typically are the ones where there's some kind of billing issue. As far as notifying the public, that's going to be an outreach type of activity, and I'm not exactly certain if Ben has anything put in place for the outreach at this point. Amy, does this answer your question?
Yes, clear. Thank you. This is very helpful. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Mateki. Francisco, your hand's still up, but I assume it's still just your question's been asked and answered. Anyone else that would like to jump in with a question?
And this is the moderator. I lowered Dr. Kim's hand.
Great, thank you. With that, why don't we open up public comment on item 4?
President Harabedian, if I may take this moment to announce that Vice President Osorio has joined the meeting. Let the record reflect that.
Hi, Ruben. Welcome. So we are on item 4, and let's open it up for public comment, which we've done.
Yes, public comment is open. You may see Members of the public will see the icon in the lower right corner of your screen generally. You can type, I'd like to make a comment. We do have a comment from attendee identifying as Victoria, speaking that she is not seeing the charts. And I believe that's just a feature that we've not chosen to present the charts to the public.
Correct. The materials are not being presented in the slides, but any of the information that Madam Borges was referring to were in the tables for the materials for item 4F, the enforcement report.
Thank you. And I see no other questions from the public. Shall I close the feature?
Yeah, let's give it 30 seconds and then you can close it, just in case
Certainly.
anyone's having technical difficulties. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and close it.
Certainly.
Thank you. And we didn't need any direction, obviously, from staff, from the board on that item, right, Mr. Bodea? Yeah, I don't think we did. So
That
let's
is
move
correct.
on to, okay.
No decision necessary.
Let's move on to item number 5. And I can just, Mr. Bodea, unless you had comments, I can just kind of give a quick overview
Please,
of where
Mr.
we are.
President.
But okay. For the committee assignments for this year, we did 2 things. One, as you'll notice, we combined the education committee with the licensing committee because it's staff's recommendation, which I think is right. I think those 2 really go hand in hand, and it makes most sense to have the folks working on education and licensing effectively be working together. And so education has now been wrapped in to the licensing committee. So we now have 3 committees: licensing, executive and legislation, and enforcement. And as you've all noticed, I decided to actually rotate the membership of these committees. I think each person now should be on a new committee, or at least most of us are. And I did that for a few reasons. You know, I think that the last couple of years we have all been serving on the same committee. And I thought that rotating and broadening our experience on the different committees is good for the individuals of this board, but I think the board as a whole, so that we all develop the expertise in the different areas that each committee is addressing. And I do think that getting a fresh pair of eyes and outlook and perspective on the different issues that each committee is tackling is important. And I think it really does benefit the public to have our board members rotating through each committee. I did not consult with the individual members before I made my assignments, and I am definitely open to making changes. And if folks really have strong thoughts on being on different committees, this is really open for any sort of discussion, and I'm happy to make changes. Since the committee assignments were made, I do think there's been one member, Francisco Kim, who had brought up a point about his committee assignment, and I think that Francisco would prefer to be on licensing so that he can continue to address and work on issues relating to education and licensing, which he's been working on the past few years with me on the education committee. And so one potential change would be to have Mr. Kitman Chan, stay on enforcement rather than what I proposed here. Have Kitman Chan stay on enforcement and have Mr. Kim go back to licensing / education. And that, as of now, is the only potential change that I've seen. But let me open this up to Ben to the extent you have any comments before I want to hear from the board.
No additional comments, Mr. President.
Great, thank you. Francisco, is there anything you would like to add there on this potential change? And I would like to hear from Kitman to see if he would have any objection to this. But to the extent you feel strongly about serving on licensing, I'm very happy to accommodate that. So just please let me know.
So I'm okay.
Yeah, this is Francisco Kim. I've been practicing acupuncture since 90s, and when I read, I went through all this occupational analysis. Things are changing, and I noticed I'm one of the few who's been practicing over 20-25 years, and I see that the medical community they're also changing, and I think I as a practitioner and also a board member, I strongly feel that to look into the curriculum and other licensing issues, because the markets they demand different standards than current educational standard or other licensing standard. And I think we have to all, including all the licensees and all other association and board, and we have to get into this and then adjust, comply with this, to this demand of the market. For example, I see the occupational analysis about board sent out the occupational analysis survey to about 10 maybe let me see 11,000 over 11,000 licenses, and then about 40% replied, but out of them about almost 50%, half of them are they are practicing less than 10 years or 15 years, and then most of them they work less than 20 hours, 20%, and 50% is like 30 hours. So you can be very actively serve the public, but if you are not competent enough, they don't come to you, and of course your work hours going to be less. Then this profession cannot contribute to this, especially in this pandemic era. I do see a lot of referrals from doctors because there's an opioid crisis reason, and a lot of people having a lot of pain issues and looking for the non-pharmaceutical
Francisco,
yeah.
I think these are all really important issues, and I don't want to cut you off. I do want to make sure though that we're staying within the agendized item. And so I think that all of this background is helpful, and I do think that we should continue this conversation. I'm not sure if we should continue it under this discussion item just for committee assignments. So I think, but I'm hearing you loud and clear that you want to work on these issues on the licensing committee. And so I think you've made a good case for that. And it sounds like Kitman Chan is fine with rotating and switching with you. And so I don't mean to cut you off, but I do think I'm sensitive to just the agenda and making sure that everything that you're talking about actually fits within this noticed agenda item. So is it okay if we just pause you there?
Thank you. Yeah, that was my point. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think that with that, Mr. Bodea, I would then propose that we make Ruben Osorio the chair of enforcement and have Kidman Chan serve on that committee, and have Francisco Kim then join the licensing committee with Dr. Mateki as chair.
So noted, Mr. President.
Okay.
This is,
Go ahead.
yeah, Member Amy Mateki. Thank you, President Harabedin, and for your assignment. And I'm honored to continue serve. And I really like the idea have the board member rotate. And thank you, Keyman, for being so flexible. And it is my honor to continue work with the member Kim. I know I have so much to learn, you know, in the Chinese medicine community, and also, you know, as a physician world, even being a licensee. But I think I being always on the public and the patient's side, and I have seen the work Member Kim has done, and I'm grateful and absolutely love to work together. And also will follow President lead, and we will rotate. So we will all get the best experience through serve on the board. I just wanted to say and thank you, President Harabedin, for trusting me, and I will continue to work. Also, you know, staff, Jay, Ben, you know, just wanted to continue learning from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mateki, and I echo all that, and I echo thank you to Kidman Chan for the flexibility. And Mr. Baudet, your hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to advise on the members as well as the public that just because these are the committee assignments doesn't exclude these members from the conversation, from the discussion. Now, they won't be able to participate in the committee itself, but the committees do bring these items to the full board, at which point the rest of the members would be able to comment and discuss this item. Thank you.
Agreed. Any other comments from board members?
This is Yongping Chen.
Go ahead, Dr. Chen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for President Harabedin. Have this good idea to have a board member rotate in different committees to learn different knowledge, skills. So for me, I'm like a member Kim. I'm a licensed acupuncturist. I have not done this committee, like executive committee, but I'm willing to learn from the former committee member, from president, vice president, and former president, and everybody else from EO and legal. So I saw this executive committee cover a lot of different area and really a lot to learn. So I'm actually excited to waiting to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Great. Before I open up to the public, I think just echoing some of the comments being made, I do think that all board members should know that just because you aren't on a committee, particular committee, does not mean that you cannot be working with other board members and staff, obviously, to agendize and work on matters with the full board that are important to you. I don't think that we should ever feel limited by the committees that we serve on to address issues that we think are important to the public. And secondly, and maybe even more importantly, why we do serve on these committees, I think each of us should be very intent and focused, enthusiastic and aggressive on bringing items forward in committee work and then to the full board that we think are important. And I do think that working with staff to do that, especially with Dr. Kim's comments about the issues that are important to him, I think that we should all be very, very intentional about working on these items sooner rather than later. So I think, that's just, I guess, a challenge that I'll bring to everyone, that these committees should really be seen as an incubator to address important items, bring them to the full board, and do it do it with some speed and haste with staff. So thank you everyone for your understanding. I'm going to now ask that we open this up for public comment.
The public comment feature of WebEx has begun. Members of the public can indicate if they'd like to make a comment by clicking on the icon with a question mark located at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. In the Ask field, you can type comment or I would like to make a public comment, send to all panelists, and I'll take comments in the order they are received. And I see no requests for comment. Shall I close this feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
And Mr. Baudet, do we want to, do you need a vote to approve this, or is this just by the president's direction?
It's the president's direction. No vote
Great.
needed.
Thank you. We can move on to item number 6 at this point. I would probably request maybe a quick 5-minute break before we get into the legislative update, which sometimes can go pretty long. And I know we've been going for about an hour now. So maybe could we just take maybe just a 5-minute break for folks to kind of stretch and take a short bathroom break potentially before we go into item number 6?
President Harbin, may I request 10 minutes? The restroom is rather far from our office, so we might need a little longer.
10 minutes.
Thank you.
So why don't we come back here at about 10:55?
Certainly.
Great. We're adjourned.
President Harbin, it is now 10:55. Would you like us to do a roll call?
Thank you.
Certainly.
Certainly, indeed. As before, when I call your name, just please let us know that you're here. Mr. Harabedian.
I'm here. Thank you.
Mr. Osorio.
Yes, I am here.
Thank you. Mr. Chen.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Dr. Chen.
I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim, are you with us? Mr. Lee, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. And Dr. Mateki, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you. I suspect Mr. Kim will join us shortly, but at the moment I show 6 members present.
Francisco Kim is here.
Thank you. I stand corrected. We have all board members present, Mr. President Harabedian.
Thank you. Let's proceed with agenda item 6, please.
Good morning, everybody. This is Christine Brothers, the policy coordinator. I will get into first the 2021 legislative calendar. So we are in the kind of last portion of the legislative session. Today is August 26th. And so the last day for fiscal committees to meet is tomorrow, August 27th. And in fact, we do have a few bills that we're tracking that are in some appropriation committee hearings today. And then August 30th through September 10th, there's just the floor session only. And September 3rd, that's the last day to amend bills on the floor. And we have the holiday. And September 10th is the last day for any bills to be passed. And then we have an interim recess. And October 10th is the last day for the governor to sign or veto bills passed by the legislature on or before September 10th. And any of those bills that are passed, January 1st would be when the statutes take effect. And then January 3rd, 2022 is when the legislature reconvenes. So for the legislative report, the statuses that you see are kind of cut it off as of August 6th. And so there really hasn't been a whole lot of movement on the majority of the bills just due to the summer recess. And so I'm just going to jump into the handful of bills that there have been amendments and changes to update. So really there's just 4 of those. And we'll just go ahead and take public comment at the end of the report. If you see a bill that reads on the status not amended since watch or support or oppose position taken, those are the bills that haven't had any updates. So there's just nothing to review since our last June meeting. So I'm gonna jump over to page 4, AB 107. Licensure veterans and military spouses, authored by Salas. That was last amended on July 15th, and it was re-referred to Senate Committee on Appropriations. So just to get into the summary of the bill, the provisions of AB 107 would require all licensing boards under DCA to issue temporary licenses to applicants within 30 days who provide sufficient evidence that they are married to or in a domestic partnership or other legal union with an active duty member of the Armed Forces of the U.S. who is assigned to a duty station in California and are not grounds for denial based on the results of a criminal background check. Amendments on June 21st added the requirement that an applicant for a temporary license shall provide to the board documentation that the applicant has passed a California law and ethics examination, if otherwise required by the board, for the profession or vocation for which the applicant seeks licensure. And it's those amendments that have caused us to update our board impact to on July 15th, added the requirement that board pass the departmental background check and furnish the criminal background information in accordance with specified requirements. These amendments would also require the department and each board to post on their website information on licensing rules, processes, and options for military spouses. This bill would provide that these temporary licenses shall expire 12 months after issuance, upon issuance of a standard license, by endorsement, or upon issuance of an expedited license. The bill would exempt a board from the bill's provisions that already has a process in place for out-of-state license applicants who are married to or in a domestic partnership with an active duty member of the armed forces. The bill would require, if necessary, a board to submit to DCA for approval draft regulations necessary to administer the provisions of the bill by June 15th, 2022. AB 107 would require DCA to prepare an annual report to the legislature containing specified information relating to the professional licensure of veterans, service members, and their spouses. So the portion of the board impact that we do want to update you on does relate to the amendments on June 21st relating to the law and ethics examination. The board tests licensing applicants on laws and ethics as they pertain to California and the California Acupuncture Licensing Exam, or the CALE, which is required of all applicants for licensure. Without taking that exam, a recipient of a temporary license would likely have a gap in their understanding of the practice of acupuncture in California, unless they have previously taken the CAL. Allowing an applicant to have a license to practice without addressing this gap in knowledge is a risk to the public. The bill allows for temporary applicants to pass a California law and ethics examination if otherwise required by the board for the profession of or vocation for which the applicant seeks licensure. The exam required by the board tests on more than California law and ethics, and as such, an exam strictly on law and ethics is not offered by the board. The board would need clarity on this requirement, as it is unclear if the CAL would satisfy this requirement, since it tests more than just law and ethics. While the board could develop a standalone law and ethics examination, the bill language does not address what would happen in the time prior to the standalone exam being available. Certain treatments or modalities permitted under California's scope of practice for acupuncture may not be allowed in other states and vice versa. To properly fulfill the board's mandate to protect the public, it is important to ensure all applicants for licensure can demonstrate the ability to perform the practices of acupuncture as permitted in California law and regulations. The board asserts that this would require all applicants take and pass the full licensing exam, not just the portions covering law and ethics. So with regards to the fiscal impact related to those amendments, if the CAL satisfies the law and ethics test requirements, this will require no additional staff time. But if the bill requires the administration of just the law and ethics portion of the CAL, the board would need to contract with the Office of Professional Examination Services, or OPES, to develop a standalone law and ethics exam, which is a cost that is unknown at this time. At this time, the board position is watch, and we do not have any recommended change on that position. So, are there any questions from the board on that bill? Or President Harabidian, would you prefer that I take questions and public comment all at the end of the report?
I think you can take board member questions as to each bill, and then we can just open up for public comment at the end.
Okay, sounds good. So any questions on this from the board members? I don't hear any, so.
Great, go ahead, please, yeah.
Okay, so jumping over to page 11, AB 1273. Interagency Advisory Committee on Apprenticeship, the Director of Consumer Affairs, and the State Public Health Officer. And that was authored by Rodriguez. This was last amended on June 28th, so pretty shortly after our last board meeting. The status was from Senate Committee on Health. It was ordered to second reading pursuant to Senate Rule 28.8. The amendments were not significant. It only changed the reference from the licensing and certification of health facilities to professions within Health and Safety Code Section 131088. So it didn't require staff to update the board impact or fiscal impact, but just to refresh the board members' memory on what this bill relates to, it would amend the Business of Professions Code and the Health and Safety Code with respect to so-called earn and learn programs. It would also amend the Labor Code to add the Director of Consumer Affairs and the Public Health Officer to the Interagency Advisory Committee on Apprenticeship. The bill seeks to remove barriers to earn and learn programs, which are a combination of work experience and education to permit a student to earn a wage as they are learning. So examples of earn and learn programs include apprenticeships, internships, and other programs described in the Labor Code. And it relates to the board with regards to our tutorial programs, and then also the clinical portion of the training programs that we approve. Curriculum of the training programs we approve. So again, no recommendation on changing the board position, which is currently at a watch position. Do any board members have any questions on this bill? I don't think so. So I'm going to move on to page 14. and that is SB 607, Professions and Vocations, authored by Roth. This was last amended on July 13th, and it was re-referred to Assembly Committee on Appropriations. There have been actually a couple amendments since we last reviewed this bill. And for context, let me just go over some existing law. Currently, existing law requires a board within the department to expedite the licensure process for an applicant who holds a current license in another jurisdiction in the same profession or vocation and who supplies satisfactory evidence of being married to or in a domestic partnership or other legal union with an active duty member of the armed forces of the U.S. who is assigned to a duty station in California under official active duty military orders. Previous to the July 6th amendments, the bill required a board to waive all fees associated with the application and initial license for an applicant who meets those expedited licensing requirements. The only section of SB 607 that affects the board is the proposed amendments to Business and Professions Code Section 115.5. These provisions are very similar to those of AB 1386, which is another bill we're tracking. The July 6th amendments now require a board to waive the licensure application fee and the initial or original license fee charged by the board for an applicant who meets the expedited licensing requirements under BMP Code Section 115.5. So there's just got a little more specificity in what is to be, what fees are actually to be waived by the board. Additionally, the amendments set a repeal date of the existing BPC Section 115.5 and an operative date of July 1st, 2022 for the new provisions. The remaining provisions of the bill affect the Dental Practice Act, Architects Practice Act, Contractor State License Law, and Private Security Services Act. The latest amendments on July 13th did not affect any sections of law pertaining to the board. So when we previously brought the fiscal impact to the board, we had already calculated an approximate revenue loss based on the waiving the licensure application fee and an initial license fee. So there are no changes to the fiscal impact. And again, we also have no changes to the recommended board position, and it's currently at a watch position. Are there any questions from the board members on this bill? I don't think so, so I'm going to move on. And the last bill that we're going to cover in the report is SB 731, Criminal Records Relief, authored by Dorazo, and that's at the bottom of page 15. That was last amended on June 23rd, and it was referred to Assembly Committee on Appropriations. So just a really brief summary on this bill, because the amendments were not real significant. This bill would expand upon recent criminal justice reforms by creating further mechanisms for conviction dismissal. Felony conviction records would be automatically sealed for individuals who have completed their sentence and have gone 2 years without new criminal convictions. So the most recent amendments to the bill on June 23rd added a subsection of Penal Code Section 1203.41 that clarifies relief granted pursuant to this section does not release the defendant from the terms and conditions of any unexpired criminal protective orders that have been issued by the court pursuant to specified sections of law. It also states these protective orders shall remain in full effect until expiration or until any further order by the court modifying or terminating the order despite the dismissal of the underlying accusation or information. And again, because the amendments were not very significant, they did not necessitate us to update the board impact or fiscal impact or any change to the board position recommendation. The board currently has a watch position on this bill. Any questions on this bill?
So I think this is a pretty significant potential impact here to the extent we're not able to see applicant licensees felony conviction record after, or to the extent that the record was expunged effectively. So do we know when and if this will actually be brought to potential vote? It seems as though they're not going to be able to pass it this legislative session, but maybe I'm wrong. Do we have any sense of whether this is going to come soon, or is it still delayed?
I do know that it's, I think it's today that it's in, today in the appropriations committee hearing. So we'll definitely follow up and track that and see what the outcome is. I think there is still a potential on this bill to possibly pass this legislative session, but I don't know for certain. But you're right. Yes, this would be a big impact to us. It's currently already the case for misdemeanors, but of course there are some exceptions, and there are exceptions for the felonies as well. But you're correct. So we're following this closely, as well as the department is as well.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Are there any further questions from anybody else?
Okay, Francis, I'm wondering, so until it is on the table for both, the board staff doesn't have any idea whether it's gonna be likely to pass or not, or you guys get some updates on this through the DCA?
We could definitely get some updates from our legislative affairs from the department. They have somebody assigned to that, and that's been watching it. We're watching it as well. They may have a better sense of whether or not it's going to pass. And we can definitely check on that. We would can report on that the next time we meet. And that's what we will do. We will definitely update on all of these bills what has occurred.
Great, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so for the remaining bills that I didn't cover, those just automatically turn into 2-year bills, and so it could be taken up in the next year. So again, we'll continue to keep an eye on those and track those. So that concludes my report. You want to take it to public comment?
Thank you, Christine. Do the board members have any questions for Christine or staff before we open it up for public comment? And now let's open this up for public comment.
And the public comment feature is now open. If you'd like to comment on any of the bills that have been discussed, you can go to the bottom right corner of your screen. These instructions are on the screen. In the ask field, members can type comment or I would like to make a comment and send to all panelists. And I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the feature?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that report, Christine. I thought that was very good and helpful and efficient. I like the format of going over in detail the bills that have been amended, but otherwise not necessarily having to go in detail and in depth in the conversation about the others. My view is I think we should out of all the bills, SB 731, we should keep a close eye on, but I don't have any recommendation for any changed positions on any of the bills. And unless any board member does have any sort of thoughts or recommendations on changing our position on any of these, then I think we can keep the status quo. But I'll open it up to the board for any comments on that. And it doesn't look like we have any board members that wish to comment. So I believe we can move on to item number 7, unless we need any vote from the board.
Mr. President, this is Fred Chen, UDCA Legal. Since the board is just going to, I mean, if it's going to be just maintaining the status quo like on the watch position, I don't believe the board needs to re-vote on this.
Great. Thanks. Okay, great. Well, let's move on to item number 7 then, the regulatory update.
Hello, everyone. This is David Brugman. I'm going to be going through the active regulatory packages that the board has and giving those updates. Again, it's been a relatively short time since our last meeting, so this should be relatively brief. Our package, which is the first listed in our regulatory update, concerns AB 2138. It would amend sections 13, excuse me, this is Title 16, sections 1399.469.4, 1399.469.5, and 1399.469.6 of our regulations. This is concerned what substantially related means and what constitutes rehabilitation for the purposes of denying, suspending, or revoking a license. And again, this is tied to the AB 2138 legislation. This affects the board's ability to discipline licensees and to deny applicants based on a criminal conviction of the underlying acts. These acts now require a substantial relationship to the qualifications, functions, or duties of the profession, and the board must evaluate evidence of that person's rehabilitation. After the December 2020 board meeting, the final rulemaking package was finished, and it remains with the Office of Administrative Law and the Department of Finance for review. The second package is actually a combination, or the second item on the slide, there's a combination of 2 packages. The first one concerns SB 1441, would amend Title 16, sections 1399.469, as well as affecting the titles Division 13.7, Articles 6.1 and 6.2 of the regulations. These basically reflects updates to the board's disciplinary guidelines, which include incorporating relevant portions of the uniform standards regarding substance abusing licensees. It brings board regulations in line with the bill I mentioned, SB 1441, and it required the development of those standards. Again, at the December 2020 board meeting, the board approved modified text and updates to those guidelines. And the initial statement of reasons is currently with Legal Affairs for review. We anticipate filing that in October of this year. And the probation disclosure is a separate package connected with a distinct bill, but given the relationship of the two, we are working on them together. The probation guidelines would require licensees on probation pursuant to a probationary order made on or after July 1 of 2019 to disclose that status to a patient or their guardian or healthcare surrogate prior to the patient's first visit. And as mentioned previously, the initial statement of reasons is with legal affairs for review. We would anticipate filing this in October of this year. The next package concerns Title 16 California Code of Regulations, sections 1399.415, 1399.434, 1399.435, 1399.437, 1399.238, and 1399.439. We're aligning curriculum standards and approval of related regulations with the statute. It's going to make additional changes to regulations to ensure compliance with SB 1246, and that law changed the board's authority from approving schools and colleges of acupuncture to approving education and training programs in acupuncture. We've done a previous package on this same bill, and at our March meeting, the board approved additional regulatory language, and the package remains under staff development at this time. If we move on to the next slide, the next package we're actually going to discuss a little bit later at this meeting. It addresses an application process for licensing, examination, and reexamination, and criteria and procedures for approval of a credential evaluation service. And this package would set regulations for the board to approve credential evaluation services for evaluating the foreign education of applicants for licensure, including amendments addressing the licensing examination, documentation required during the application process, and applications for examination and re-examination. The board reviewed regulatory language at the March 2021 meeting, and the staff continues to develop this package. We're going to talk about additional language later at this meeting for discussion and possible approval. The application for retired status package would establish a retired license status and outline the restrictions of retired license, as well as how to apply for one and how to restore a retired license to active status. The board has the authority to do this through Business and Profession Code section 464. The board approved regulatory language in August 2019, and the package is currently under development with staff and legal counsel. The continuing education requirements package, it would set requirements for continuing education in law and ethics for licensees, both in terms of credits and in testing requirements. It would also clean up existing regulatory language. The board has previously required law and ethics courses in continuing education for licensees, but this has not been the case since 1999. The board approved regulatory language at the March 2021 board meeting, and the package is currently under development with staff. The telehealth package. This would provide specific guidance and requirements for delivering acupuncture services via telehealth. This was prompted by the pandemic and the subsequent encouragement by the governor through executive orders to use telehealth to maximize the abilities of California's healthcare workforce. The board approved regulatory language at the March 2021 board meeting, and the package is currently under development with staff. And then finally, we have a package concerning the repeal of language in regulations concerning free and sponsored healthcare events. These changes would remove language in the Code of California Regulations for which the underlying legal authority had been repealed. The board was previously notified about the package, but because this would simply remove language in regulations for which there no longer remains legal authority, we deemed that there was no need for a formal vote. The package was filed with the Office of Administrative Law in June of this year, and it was made effective as of August 6th. So that was a successful Section 100 process regulatory package. This concludes my report, so I'd like to open it up to board questions before we address public comment. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Bergman. Any questions from the board members? I don't see any at this time. So why don't we open up for public comment, and board members, if you have any questions after public comment, we can take them at that time as well.
And I have turned on the public comment feature. Members of the public can indicate they'd like to make a comment by clicking on the icon at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. In the ask field, you would type, I would like to make a public comment, or simply the word comment. Any other communication will not be responded to, and I'll take comments in the order received. And I see no requests for public comment. Shall I close the feature?
Please, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bring it back. Anything on item number 7 from any of the board members before we move on to item number 8? Great. Seeing none, why don't we move on to item number 8, the sunset review.
Certainly, Mr. President. For the sunset report update, I wanted to inform the board members as well as the members of the public that staff is currently working on the sunset report, and President Harabidian has formed an ad hoc committee comprising of Dr. Mateki as well as himself to work with staff on the reports as it becomes available, and this will be brought to the full board meeting in November for the board's review. And so we will continue to update you on that as we proceed. The report is due the first week of December, and it would need to be approved by the full board to be submitted. And that is all I have for that. We'll update you more later. Any questions from the board?
Thank you, Mr. Bodea. Any questions?
Certainly.
This is member Amy Mateki. I just want to say thank you, Mr. President Harbiding and Mr. Bodea for your trust. And I definitely will work closely with the president for the next step for the sunset report. And thank you for the trust.
Thank you for being willing to serve. Any other comments about the sunset report update? If not, I'm going to open it up for public comment.
And the public comment feature has been opened. And if anyone would like to make a comment, they can click on the icon with the question mark at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen and type, I would like to make a comment, and send to all panelists. We will take comments in the order they are received. And I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
And I believe this is Miss Brothers.
Indeed. Mr. President, if I may ask that we, because this will be a longer review, if we can take a 15-minute break here before jumping into this.
Sure, happy to.
Thank you. It's 11:32. We can come back at 11:47.
Great. See you guys.
Mr. President, this is Fred Chan, UTC Legal. It sounds like there is a public comment. Would you like to take that public comment before going to break?
Sure. Is it public? Sorry, I didn't see that. Is there a public comment on this item or item number 8? Well, let's get to it and see.
Yes, a public attendee named presenting as Neil Miller has had a request sent that he can unmute himself and ask his question.
Go ahead, Neil, if you can hear us.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. My comment regarding the sunset review, there's been a number of things that the board has done since the last sunset review, including things that go all the way back to the Little Hoover Commission that we've talked about, and I would like to make sure that some of those things that are included in the report to the legislature. In other words, the board cannot change legislation, but you can report to the legislature on things that need to be changed legislatively. We've been talking about the manual therapy and the Asian massage, the issue with bleeding and therapeutic blood draw. We've talked about things that would expand the scope, that would keep us current with the standards within the country, things like injection therapy. Some states have acupuncture assistants. So I would like to know if, one, to make that point that we hope that these things will be included in the package, and with the special select committee, if there's an opportunity for a comment like this, to work with the special select committee to assist in any way to bring forth some of those issues. Some of those issues have gone through several intonations of this board back to the Little Hoover Commission, and they still haven't been resolved. This committee has done a very good job to address a number of those issues, but we at Cal APMA, and that's who I'm representing, would like to make sure that they go forward, and that the things that you've worked on these past few years under Dr. Mateki that we've addressed, make it to them so that we can make some legislative changes. You can't make the changes, but we hope you'll make the recommendations based on the testimony and the work that we've done these past few years. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak.
Thanks, Mr. Miller. Great. Unless there's any other public comments, let's note those public comments for the record, and then we will adjourn until looks like 11:50 at this point. We'll be in recess. Thank you. let's go ahead and take another roll call and get going.
Understood. As I call your name, please let us know that you're here. Mr. Harabedian? Mr. Osorio?
I'm here.
Mr. Chan?
I'm here.
Dr. Chen?
I'm back.
Mr. Kim?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Lee?
I'm here.
And Dr. Mateki?
Yes, I'm here.
I show all 7 members accounted for. We have a quorum.
Great. Let's get into item number 9, please.
Thank you, President Harabedian. So this proposed rulemaking we have here, it relates to application process for licensing, examination, and re-examination, and criteria and procedures for approval of a credential evaluation service. It is proposed language. We have brought this to the board at our March meeting. I think David covered that in the regulatory update. So some of this will sound familiar. The majority of the amendments to the proposed, to the regulations relates to AB 2190, which enacted Business and Professions Code Section 4939. And the intent of that legislation was to provide more of an authentication process for any foreign education or education completed outside of the U.S. for applicants. Amendments to Business and Professions Code Section 4939 ensure that the board has authority to utilize educational credential evaluation services to provide a way for applicants who obtained education from outside the U.S. to obtain equivalent credits. So the following are the provisions of the Business and Professions Code Section 4939. It defines an approved credential evaluation service as an as an agency or organization that is approved by the board to evaluate education completed outside the U.S. and identify the equivalency of that education to education completed within the U.S. When education is completed outside the U.S., the applicant shall do both of the following. A, submit documentation of their education to a board-approved credential evaluation service for evaluation. B, have the results of the evaluation sent directly from the credential evaluation service to the board. If the board receives the results of an application's evaluation, the board shall examine the results and determine whether the applicant meets requirements for licensure. If the evaluated education is not sufficient to meet the requirements for licensure, the board may offer the applicant additional education training or standardized testing to satisfy the educational requirements. The board shall not require the applicant to complete education training or testing that is not otherwise required of applicants who complete education or training within the U.S. It also requires the board to establish by regulation an application process, criteria, and procedures for approval of credential evaluation services accepted by the board, and that these regulations shall require their credential evaluation service to provide information, furnish evaluations, be re-evaluated, perform evaluations, and perform other functions and tasks. So the new proposed regulations are meeting that provision there. And again, like I said, we did bring this to the board and they reviewed language, but we did meet with the regulatory unit to go over that language recently, and we feel that this is a better product, and it strengthens it for sure. So we did bring it to the committee and board level at our March meeting. After the board's consideration of that version, we did meet with the regulatory unit of legal affairs, and we developed more clear and complete amendments to more sufficiently implement the requirements of Section 4939 and meet the rulemaking requirements of the Administrative Procedure Act, or APA. Today, we're bringing these additional amendments of the proposed language for your review discussion and consideration of authorizing staff to initiate and possibly complete a rulemaking. So at this point, I do want to point your direction to, after the memo, you'll see the proposed regulations. In the first copy, you're seeing a lot of highlight, and what that highlight represents is these are basically all of the changes that staff has made in council with the regulatory unit since the March meeting when it was last reviewed. So if you look through it, it's a lot of changes. They're quite extensive, a lot of reordering, and when we met with them, we could just go through the process of evaluating applications, and we could determine what's going to best work for the board. And normally when we bring language again to the board after we've made edits or changes to proposed language, we usually just go over that highlighted language. But because this is so extensive, we're just going to go through all of the proposed amendments to the regulations as a whole. And so the second copy after page 14 is a clean copy of the proposed language. And so if there is a motion made today by the board, it would be based off of this clean copy here. And so the highlighted copy is just a visual so you can see just how much has been changed since March. I'm not going to go through section by section, but I do need to kind of provide a high-level summary of what each proposed regulation section is doing. So let me get back to the memo. The proposed regulatory language being brought to the board reflects all of the requirements set by BMP Code Section 4939. Additionally, staff has made amendments to outdated language from when the exam was administered twice a year to align provisions with the board's current computer-based testing administration, which occurs throughout the year. Staff has also made changes to identify requirements of the board's applications for examination and update for examination to ensure the most current information needed to process these applications is included in regulation. Throughout the proposed language, reference and authority sections have been updated. Staff has also addressed general cleanups such as grammatical corrections, reorganization, and edits for clarity. So below is a summary of each regulation section and the amendments staff is proposing. So we are proposing a new section 1399.409, which provides definitions for commonly used terms within the entire Article of 2. And those are foreign trained applicant, credential evaluation service, and transcript. So that's new since March. The next section 1399.411, certification of documentation, that's an existing section. It breaks out the documentation and submission requirements by the education completed by the applicant, domestic versus foreign trained. Requires submission of domestic transcripts via mail as specified or via secure electronic submission as specified. Excuse me. Requires submission of foreign transcripts come to the board directly from the Credential Evaluation Service. 1399.413, application for a licensing examination. It amends the section title to better describe its purpose. It identifies the requirements of an application for the licensing examination, establishes new application requirements for all applicants, identifies the requirements of an application for re-examination, establishes new re-examination requirements for all applicants who request to retake the examination. 1399.414, requests for reevaluation of denial of application to take licensing exam, approval to test. This section title was also amended to better describe its purpose. It identifies the board's response time to an applicant's request for denial to take the licensing examination. It identifies the qualifications for licensure an applicant is required to complete to be approved to take the examination. 1399.416, equivalent training and clinical experience qualifying for licensure, sets forth the specific requirements, how an applicant documents they have met the curriculum requirements and qualifies for licensure under BPC section 4938. It requires foreign trained applicants to submit documentation of their education and clinical experience to a board approved credential evaluation service for a course by course evaluation. Specifies that all foreign trained applicants must have successfully completed equivalent coursework to the coursework required of applicants from board approved educational and training programs in section 1399.434, which is our section where we identify board approved curriculum. 1399.416.2 is a new proposed section. Foreign trained applicant equivalent training and clinical experience qualifying for licensure, processing, and remediation. Since this was brought to the board, the section title has been expanded to better describe its purpose. It establishes the board's procedures for reviewing the results of a credential evaluation once received from a credential evaluation service for the evaluation of a foreign trained applicant. Establishes the board's procedures and process for a foreign trained applicant if their education is determined to not meet the curriculum requirements set forth in CCR section 1399.434. Establishes the requirements and procedures for a foreign applicant to complete missing courses for the completion of their education and training. New section 1399.416.3, credential evaluations by evaluation services of foreign education requirements. This sets forth the requirements for an evaluation provided to the board by a board-approved credential evaluation service. 1399.416.4, requirements for approval and renewal of credential evaluation services of foreign education, process for denial or revocation of service approvals, appeal procedures. Since we brought this to the board in March, the section title has been changed and expanded to better describe its purpose. It establishes the requirements and documentation for an application to become a board-approved credential evaluation service. Requires a written affirmation from the credential evaluation service at the time of application that they meet the specified qualifications of a board-approved credential evaluation service. Removes organizational qualifications previously brought to the board for consideration due to a lack of necessity. Sets forth the term of approval for credential evaluation service and establishes a renewal process. Requires all board-approved credential evaluation services to respond within 30 days of receipt of a board inquiry or investigation to retain board approval. Establishes grounds for revocation of board approval of a credential evaluation service. Establishes the board's notice requirements when the approval of a credential evaluation service is denied or revoked. And it establishes the appeal process for credential evaluation services when a board provides notice of revocation or denial of approval. Next, existing section 1399.417, abandoned of applications, provides technical cleanup of references to he or she and replaces those terms with neutral terms such as there in this existing section that identifies the circumstances in which the board considers an applicant's application for the examination abandoned and indicates that an application submitted after the abandonment period shall be treated as a new application for examination. Existing section would be amended to identify the procedure in which an applicant can request their eligibility for re-examination be extended for 1 year. And I apologize, this says in parentheses reduced from 2 years, which is inaccurate. It's actually the same time frame. It was just reworded from originally it read 2 consecutive exam administrations to and now it says 1 year because we used to it was the span of 1 year when you administered an exam twice a year. So we just cleaned up the language based on our switching to computer-based testing. So they can request that it be extended for 1 year upon good cause after the failure of an examination. Existing section would be amended to allow extension of exam eligibility for an additional year. Again, it was just reworded to 1 year as opposed to 2 consecutive exam administrations upon written explanation to the board when an applicant, and I noticed some error here, so I'm going to read this aloud correctly. Upon written explanation to the board, when an applicant cannot appear for the examination within 2 years of being approved to take it. Identifies that an application submitted after the abandonment of an application for licensure shall be treated as a new application, and they will be required to qualify for, take, and pass the examination. It establishes the criteria and documentation requirements for establishing what constitutes good cause when an applicant requests the extension of their reexamination eligibility. 1399.419, this is our last section, review and processing of licensing examination applications, requirements for licensure. It amends the section title to better describe its purpose, removed the requirement that the board will only evaluate applications for eligibility from applicants who have completed their education and training, because the board is required to process and evaluate all applications received regardless if they are complete or not. The existing section identifies the time frame in which the board notifies applicants if their application for examination is complete and are eligible to take the exam within 45 days of receipt of an application or completed application. This proposal would specify the time frame for notice for domestic trained applicants and provide technical cleanup of these provisions for better readability. This proposal would establish a new time frame in which the board notifies foreign trained applicants of their examination eligibility, which is within 90 days of receipt of a completed application. It establishes the time frame in which the board officially notifies applicants of their results of the examination, sets forth the remaining licensure requirements an applicant is required to meet to obtain an acupuncture license after passing the exam, removes minimum, median, and maximum notification timeframes for notification of examination results, as those process times have been discontinued with the onset of computer-based testing. Existing authority allowing the board to deny applications for applicants deemed not physically or mentally fit to safely practice acupuncture has been edited slightly for clarity. And again, the memo points out the 2 attachments, and that if a motion is made, it would be based off the clean copy. And there are 2 options for motions to approve. Option 1, you would just read aloud how it is stated in the memo. And then option 2, if there are any amendments the board has, then they would use that motion there and specify those amendments. Are there any questions? I know that was a lot. But again, the board has seen this language in the past. We are just providing cleanup and stronger language. This is in council with the regulatory unit. Let me know if there's any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Brothers. It was very thorough and informative. So thank you. You can tell there's a lot of work that went into this. So thanks, staff, and thank you to legal counsel for all the help with this. Let's open it up. The language, it does seem pretty administrative and straightforward. All the yellow highlighted inclusions and the edits. But I'm interested to hear from the board members to the extent they have any questions, especially from the practitioners on the board. So let me open it up.
Thanks for your hard work, all the staffs, and yeah, I don't have further comments on this issue.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, let's open this up for public comment. I'd be interested.
Staff member Christy Sledge has her hand raised.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. So my name is Christy Shelge. I'm an attorney in the Legal Affairs Division's Regulatory Review Unit, covering the meeting today for your currently assigned counsel who's out today. But I wanted to ask if the board has wants to wait till after public comment, they can, but typically we ask if you would select a motion and then take public comment. And I did want to just explain what the two motions do, just in case the board members are confused, because it's kind of a wordy motion, both of them. Option one is if you have no changes to anything that the staff has proposed in the documents you've been provided, the clean copy is what we would be working from. But if you have no changes, then option one would be to approve the text as to form, which is the first part of the motion for option one. Direct your staff to submit the text to the director and the various agencies that review these proposals and approve them for filing. And if there are no adverse comments that are received during the public comment period, then you would be authorizing your executive officer to initiate the rulemaking process, make any technical cleanup changes like grammar or punctuation. If no adverse comments are received during the 45-day public comment period and no hearing is requested, then you would be authorizing your executive officer to complete the rulemaking and adopt this proposal as currently written and in front of you today. So just to clarify what that means. And then the second option is if you have any changes you'd like to make to the text that's in front of you, then we would need to add those changes to the motion in option two, but it does the same thing that option one would do, except it would include those additional edits that your members may want to make to the proposal. So I just wanted to clarify that because I know sometimes the board members I've worked with are like, what does this all mean? What does it do? And I just want to make sure you have that benefit of that knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, legal counsel, and thank you for your work and assistance in getting this through. Would a board member like to take the advisement and make a motion? Or, Mr. President, would you like to open it up to public comment first?
No, that was very helpful. Thank you for that background and the clarification on the two different options. So board members, per legal counsel's last comments, if you look at page 5 and 6 of the staff report, there are two options for a motion, and considering it at this point, we don't have any proposed changes or amendments. So option one for a motion to approve would be what we are looking for. And do I have any volunteers for someone to actually offer up the option number one for the motion to approve?
Yes, this is Yongping Chen. I'd like to make a motion. I move we adopt the option one.
Okay, great. Dr. Chen, can you, if you have it in front of you, how about we read option one, motion to approve, into the record, just so we're safe? Do you have it in front of you on page 5?
Page 5.
Yeah, it's page 5 of 6. It's at the bottom under recommended motion language.
Oh.
And if
Mr.
not,
President, I can read it.
Thank you.
Certainly. Option one, the motion on the table is to approve the proposed regulatory text for sections 1389.409, .416.2, .416.3, and .416.4, and amend sections 1399.411, .413, .414, .416, and .417, and .419. Direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for review, and if no adverse comments are received, authorize the Executive Officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive changes to the package, and set the matter for a hearing if requested. If no adverse comments are received during the 45-day comment period and no hearing is requested, authorize the Executive Officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking and adopt the proposed regulations of section 1399.409, 416.2, 416.3, and 416.4, and amend sections 1399.411, .413, .414, .416, .417, .419 as noticed. Is there a second?
I second.
I hear a second from Member Kim. You can now open it up for public comment, Mr. President.
Great. Let's open it up for public comment. Thank you, Beth.
Certainly.
Thank you, members.
And we are now open to the public comment section in WebEx. There will be a box typically in your lower right-hand corner of your screen with a question mark inside a box. You can click that, and then in the comment box, type "I'd like to make a comment" or just the word "comment," and we will take any comments that come in order. And I see no requests for comment from the public. Shall I close this comment feature?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion before we vote?
I don't believe we're allowed to have further discussion without opening it up again for public comment.
Oh, is that right? That's fine. I'm not sure that there's any more discussion anyway. So why don't we go to the vote?
All right, as I call your name, we're going to get to your vote on the motion to approve the AB 2190 language as Mr. Bodilla described in the record. Mr. Harabedian.
Aye.
Mr. Osorio.
Yes.
Mr. Chan.
Yes.
You're in favor. Thank you. Dr. Chen.
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
I vote yes.
Thank you. And Dr. Mateki.
Yes, I favor.
Thank you. I show 7 votes in favor of the motion, and the motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you, staff, for all the hard work and information there. Okay. We'll move on to item number 10. And this is public comments received by the board. And I will note that I received an email on, just checking the date here, on Wednesday, August 18th, from Dylan Stan on behalf of our CE providers who have been in contact with the board over the past few months and have sent us 2 different letters. And there's an email that was sent to me regarding the proposed changes to the fee structure for CE providers. I have forwarded that communication to Mr. Bodilla and plan to speak with staff more about that in the coming weeks. I don't have any other communication that I've received, but I will kick it to staff to note if we've received any other communication.
No additional communications have been received, Mr. President.
Thank you. Open it up to the board. Any additional communications that anyone would like to disclose or communicate? And hearing none, I'll open this up for public comment.
And the public comment feature has been opened. Members of the public can indicate they'd like to make a comment by clicking on the icon with question mark at the bottom right-hand corner of the WebEx screen. And in the ask field, you may type either the word comment or I would like to make a public comment and send to all panelists. And I see no request for comment. Shall I close the feature for the moment?
Please, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Unless there's additional comments, we can move on to item number 11, public comments on items not on the agenda. Mr. Baudet, do you want me to open this up just directly to the public, or do we want any board members to comment or discuss before we do that?
Legal counsel, is this an opportunity for the board to also have a public comment from items on the agenda?
I'm sorry. So right now, this agenda item is for public comments. It's not on items on the agenda, right? So that would open it up to the public to see if they have anything they would like to
There we
any
go.
comment they'd like to make at this point.
Thank you, legal counsel.
Thank you. Let's open it up for public comment.
And we are again open for public comment for items that do not appear on this agenda. And Chair, I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the feature?
Please, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Apropos to comments made by Mr. Kim earlier, the agenda item is future agenda items. And I would like to hear from board members to the extent there's anything that you want to agendize or bring to a committee, please let us know at this point.
Yeah, this is Francisco Kim. Agenda as for review of the current licensee status, education, continuation. And of course, we're going to go into this occupational analysis survey next meeting, right?
This is the executive officer. Yes, we are going to be reviewing the occupational analysis at the next board meeting. It is a little challenging to hear you, Member Kim. Are you asking that we continue reviewing the required curriculum for licensure?
So along with that, I would like to have some agenda on the current situations, maybe coming from the associations or the schools, so that we can get some more clear picture of the occupational analysis, so that we can prepare more for the sunset review report.
Francisco, would you like that to be a full board agendized item, or would you like it to be to start at a committee?
Maybe we can start with the licensing committee agenda.
Mr. Baudet, how does that sound?
We can do that, certainly.
Great. Thank you, Francisco. Anything else from any other board member? I do think that we heard from CalAtma, the representative Neil Miller, about these are not necessarily items for future agenda, but to include in the sunset review, the sunset review report. So I think staff has noted those. Anything else? If not, I'll open this up for public comment.
This is, hi, Mr. President. This is Yongping Chen.
Hi, go ahead.
Hi. So this pandemic, because facing the public health crisis, especially when mainstream of healthcare system was not available all the time to provide the public sufficient care in a critical time, and the consumers has demanding of complementary or alternative medicine, including acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine. So the acupuncture profession should be more aware of the public needs. The schools and the associations, they can form some research team. They mentioned that before, we didn't hear from this meeting. And to work together to make a treatment protocols for the new coronavirus associated symptoms. The pandemic caused psychological disorders. There's a lot of patients, they have PTSD, they have anxiety. It's just a tremendous number we can see from the profession. And also some vaccine related adverse effects. So acupuncture and herbal can be helpful to help the public, the consumers. So I urge the schools associations, they can do more research, form a team, and the public needs is there. We see that, how this profession to serve the consumers better. So I would like to make this point.
Is this is DCA legal counsel Fred Chan Yu. So is this a request for a item or particular item be put in the future meeting?
So I remember there was the item for the education committee to discuss about the curriculum for the school, to review the curriculum. So because some reason insufficient of the committee member participating, it postponed, right? So I don't know if we want to go back. I'm not in the education committee, and it's up to the committee or the board member.
This is Executive Officer Bodia. Yes, we will be agendizing, continuing the review of the curriculum required for licensure at future meetings.
Thank you for clarifying, Ms. Bodia.
Certainly.
This is Francisco Kim. I understand her concern and mentioned comments. I would like to propose, if we can, on this future agenda, we can invite those who I heard the news that UC San Diego and UCLA is conducting a clinical trial for herbal treatment for COVID-19 patients. Maybe we can invite some of those who are participating as an experts comments, because we don't see much of public comments on these specific issues. Maybe we can open up the all these experts' opinion. Then we can see what's their expectation and versus what is the education standard or the current licensee training, like entry-level training standard. So yeah, I'd like to make a suggestion to invite those who are in the and action in the hospital level or other school activities.
Is that clear, staff?
Mr. President, it's a little challenging, only that we're asking for, it sounds like we're inviting programs to discuss treatment protocols developed for the COVID symptoms, and it seems to be beyond the purview of this board. We can definitely address education curriculum requirements for licensure, but to actually be doing the reviewing treatment protocols, the board is not the expert there in that matter. Now, if people start suffering or are caused harm because of some treatments, then the enforcement aspect of our board does address that. But to call out those treatments and to hear what the profession is doing to treat COVID seems a little beyond our scope. Legal counsel.
Yeah, I understand, but we can get some their status, you know, opinion, not to review the treatment protocol or anything, so that we can see what is the need and out there in the current medical community who's dealing with the COVID-19. Then we can come up with some idea on this educational standard.
Okay, so this is Fred Chen, UDCA Legal Counsel. So is the request to maybe invite third parties to come in and give information to the board as to certain issues that's confronting the industry, well, the public right now? Health issues. Is that what you're suggesting in short?
If they are willing to, but I've been in a board meeting that we invited other school accreditation agencies or other experts on certain agenda items. So that's what I'm suggesting.
Mr. President, we can work with Member Kim to see how we can get this to be in our scope. Again, we really do not want to be calling out treatment protocols unless people are being injured on that. And really that may be more the Department of Public Health's purview. And while the board welcomes comments from the public, creating a request of this nature to discuss the symptoms is beyond the scope. Now, we can definitely look at herbal education requirements and just education requirements in general, but honing them down just to COVID treatments or what's lacking in current education because of COVID, it's pretty targeted. And it is a new, constantly changing field. So I'm not sure where we can go with that in terms of regulating it. But we can work with Member Kim to see how we can bring that into alignment.
Yeah, I mean, there was my idea to have some open discussion on this, not just the COVID-19 issues, but all these licensees and the public needs in this in struggling with the COVID-19 situation. So that we can have we can find out what is missing in our education standard or licensing training standard.
Great.
So noted.
Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? Okay. And we did open this up for public comment, or am I
No, we have not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Let's open it up for public comment.
All right, public comment is open for the agenda item of suggestions of future agenda items. In the Ask field at the lower right of your WebEx screen, you can type, I'd like to make a comment. And the instructions are on the screen. And I have no requests for public comment at this time. Shall I close the feature?
Yes, please.
Thanks.
Thank you. And at this time, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
President, this is Fred Chin, legal counsel. You don't need one, although you could have one if you like to.
Great. Well, with that, I will note it's 12:36 and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff. Thank you, board. Look forward to seeing you all very shortly.
Thank you, Mr. President.
President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank